Good evening, friends and newcomers, listeners far and wide. Welcome to the latest floating poetry broadcast, the sixth in this weekly series, coming to you live by the sea, the glimmering sea, from Weekapaug, Rhode Island, the ocean state. This is your poet and poetorialist, Colin Goedecke. Tonight, inviting you to experience aliveness, to find it, or more greatly, inside and around you, see and feel it, fountain it fully and freely. It's all there for us, yes. I thought tonight we might start with one or two quotes that arose as I was putting together our curation for tonight, and one is from the great adventurer Jack London, The Call of the Wild Jack London, and White Fang and other books you may know of him. Quite a figure. He said, "I would rather be ashes than dust. I would rather that my spark burn out in a brilliant blaze than it should be stifled by dry rot. I would rather be a superb meteor, every atom of me in magnificent glow, than a sleepy and permanent planet. The function of man is to live, not to exist. I shall not waste my days trying to prolong." And then a quote by the philosopher, educator, and theologian, some of you may know, Howard Thurman, who said, "Ask what makes you come alive and go do it, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." And since our theme tonight is aliveness, I've chosen some variety of poems about things we can experience aliveness in and around and through and from and between. The aliveness of spring, for example. This was for the spring equinox. Back in 2018, when the clock strikes spring, you stop whatever you're doing. Take a long, deep breath, then another. Take off your shoes and socks or stockings. Take yourself out into the open air as it begins its softening, onto the outleafing earth as it begins its blossoming, under the lengthening sun as it begins its farewell to winter warming. Let all your senses feel the first notes, the fresh with promise notes of another greening time enter through your eyes and ears, nose and skin, your stirring heart, unwinding mind, when the clock strikes spring. And there's the aliveness of artists. And one of the things that I get up to in my poetic arts is putting on poetry on the plate dinners, curated everything, themed music, the menus, the poem choices, the guest list. And did one in Brooklyn with my dear friend Henry Hargreaves, more than one, but this one in particular. And the theme was called Michelangelo's Mouth, and everything was based on a recipe that he had been found by his illiterate servant, had made, gone grocery shopping, and he drew little pictures of things he wanted because the servant couldn't read them, and we based the menu on that and everything else. And I wrote an ode to Michelangelo, and I thought that would be a good example of aliveness because he was an incredibly alive man in his time. Buonanotte e buonanotte. For Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simone. For now, for this moment, man of poetry, of deep-drawn beauty, made of marble, subtle inks, vibrant pigments, elements, figurements, by such seeing eyes, seeing hands, art made and eaten with the heart, evoked here with flowing cups of wine, grateful plates of festive food, night-sung song, as a celebration of you, Michelangelo, your tastes, table, and the touchable spirit of Rinascimento, ready to come alive again in many mouths, in marveling minds, in this hungry for transcendency world. Buonanotte, buonanotte. This next poem is, when I think of aliveness, of the people I've met, and we've all met different wildly alive people and beautifully alive people, and I wrote this one just the other day. It was inspired by a gardener who works around these parts, and just quite a spirit. I don't know her more than just to feel into her, as I've met her a couple of times in passing on my way down to the ocean. So I think of the aliveness of the tenders of beauty and nature, and this is titled P.S. for Pat Sawinski. Lady of the landscape, with your earth made smile, M-A-I-D, earth made. Your greenly gardened heart, sun-rye eyes, blooming out from beneath the brim of your shade-giving hat, and your daughter at honest work by your earnest side, tending each and both to everything growing, everything inviting, gentle caring, at your feet. I think of the aliveness of adventurous livers. We think of Jack London. I know a woman who out there, I'm sure she's still out there, she was living on an old sailboat in New York Harbor, of all things, schooner, I think, for forever. And this was on her 87th birthday at the turn of this year. I wrote this poem for her. I was at a dinner honoring her. Her name is Jane Clegg, and I call her Lady Jane. Lady Jane, you arrived at 33 RPM, an LP to be sure, to be held, heard, behold, and in good company, colorful company. King Kong, FDR, Belmondo and Caballé, Michael Caine, a Lone Ranger, pas mal. As a golden gate went up, as a design for living began, and heady and ecstasy created an added sensation to the stir your birth was making, that your life would carry on rippling across the world's pond all the way to today, blowing up curtains, skirts, and socks, sails and stories of all kinds, memorable shapes and remarkable Lady Jane sizes, with all the heart, artfulness, and rare aliveness you're surely and so sturdily made of. Here's to you, Lady Jane. One of my remarkable mentors, I have several I'm blessed to have, and his name is Mike Bernstein, and on his 82nd birthday, I wrote this for him, very alive man, and it's the aliveness of those who go all in life, and he's one of those people. It's called Swing for the Fences. What you do each day and inspire others, young and younger, to do in their lives. Go all out with your work, your passions, your dreams, so full-only that you fly out past all usual boundaries, past bleachers of onlookers, estimations, expectations, that you surprise everyone, including yourself, more often than not, with a swing you never tire of making, never shy from trying, that has over decades kept you vital and succeeding, made you the man and mentor, the stepper upper and home runner you surely and so sensationally are. Swing for the fences. I take a page from his book as often as I can. And then there's the aliveness of what's right around us, many of us in whatever microcosmic ways. Could be something like this moment for me in Westport, Connecticut, back last summer. It's called the Green Room. The one I ease into today has a blonde gravel drive that crunches agreeably underfoot, a pond with water lilies, frogs, and hidden fish, free flowering hydrangeas, low stone walls, a white painted mailbox, sun-leafed shade trees, a mourning dove that also calls softly in the afternoon, slate steps fringed with new summer grass that lead to and from the cushioned bench where I sit, and farther from here to the beach and a salty shore, fireflies at dusk, and sometimes, I'm sure, sometimes a moon. Last week, the other week, had taken us on some journeying, and we'd gone up all the way up to Alaska, and in a different form of aliveness, the wilds of the world, which those are, is another poem from Alaska. This was Kayaking in Ford's Terror. How about that for a name of a place? Endicott Arm, Southeast Alaska, July 2009. I was there on a small fishing boat. We weren't fishing, but we were on a small fishing boat, the Sue Ann, 42 feet. It was our floating cabin, and we had an extraordinary series of adventures and moments and experiences, and this was one called Water Falling. Water falls thousands of feet down the sheer stone face. Fjorded light falls down the tree-banistered glacial ridge below the elbow of Endicott Arm, as the rush of the race of the rapids rises up, revels up past earth and ears into the morning air. Water falling. And then there are those moments where we feel so wildly alive in just a moment. It fleets in, fleets out. And this was back in 2002, so 18 years back in the winter, in the Yucatan, Punta Bete. And this poem is that moment. Sun-sparking sea. Sun-sparking sea, like the magnesium flash of an old photograph. As a man of the sea, poet of the sea, of course, and the land, but and a lover of sailing, and can't help but think about places where sailing is rampant, like here in Rhode Island or Maine, which I love. And this was written back in 2017 in October in Rockland Harbor, Maine, where the deeps meet, where the sky and its towering clouds, falling stars, meet the ocean and its rising tides, breaching whales, where the crystal blue air joins the muscle blue water, where anchor weighing sailors and their broad sails inhale the voyaging wind, the billowing sun, where the deeps meet. And then there's the aliveness, as we know, or can know, of the light itself. And this is, do you love the light that gilds the late day lines, carrying conversations along the road between the poles, east to west, north to south, that underscores the undersides of gulls, wings outspread as they sail between the waves and wide ocean clouds, that bathes the upturned faces of shingled summer and gabled autumn houses, grateful for another rising morning. The lovely, love-worthy light. And then there's the aliveness of the wind, and one of the most dramatic winds for me was back in Greece. We also went there traveling the other week. in the Cyclades in the ancient island of Kea, in the Aegean. And there's a certain time of year where the Tesian winds blow up and the ferries stop. You can't get on or off islands. And I was there and got to experience that, and I loved it. It was so wonderfully dramatic and atmospheric. Poets love very atmospheric things, as we know. And they're called the Meltemi, M-E-L-T-E-M-I, the Meltemi, the Etesian winds. They chap the indigo skin of the sea, flirt with women's hair and sailors' halyards, confound ferry captains, rush up and down ravines, cool the baking backs of bare mountains, refresh the faces of farmers in valleys, silent beekeepers, beachfront waiters, ruffle the ears of wild rabbits, the downy chests of roving pheasants, blow low and dry across the Aegean, fan the islands north to south, and the undraped shoulders of a plein-air poet, passing time under the sun and solitude of Kea. I know for me and many that the aliveness of lovers, whether we are the lovers or we're observing lovers or in the company of lovers, is quite beautiful, very much alive, especially early love and deeper love. And this is a poem that I wrote a while back about that. It's called Body Music. Its preludes and overtures, fermatas, cesuras, its crescendos, glissandos, and diminuendos, its flutes and strings, vibratos, tremolos of lovers, each, both, tuning and conducting, concertizing, improvising, making a music only they can hear, playing deep inside their joining, orchestrating, resonating bodies. Body music. Good thing to tune into. And then there is aliveness in sadness too, of real kinds, of the loss of something precious or someone precious, like a great love. And this poem is called A Tree is Falling. A monumental tree in the forest is falling. So colossal, so deeply rooted, so elementally entwined that it will not fall easily or swiftly or quietly. And as it looses from the earth, from the sky, earth first, it will shake and sound through the whole forest, through all the rings and canopies, hard and soft woods, all the places of light and shadow, growth and groundwater, quake and resound through all things winged and footed, flowering, streaming, flourishing here, and when unmoored, unmasted, it lays at great length to rest among the abundant mosses and ferns. It will be monumentally sad for me to see, to lose, and remember in times to come how glorious a living thing it was, what a high, spiring, spreading hymn of joy it was. It sang without pause in the forest of my heart. The tree is falling. And then there's the aliveness of our reveries that we go into solo in our solitudes, dreamy times. And this was written back in Central Park in the summer of 2013. And it's called A Midsummer's Nightgown. As I dusk dream in the evening breeze, eyes half open to the outstretched water, under high green canopies that silk song with leaves and robin's wings, and cicadas that fade up and out at the edges of my ears, I imagine you appear, moving gently, midsummerly here, move toward me through the clovered glade in a gown of glowing fireflies, their dreamlight draping your bare shoulders, floating over your long arms, lighting your irises, lamping the widening night around you with a deep enchantment. A midsummer's nightgown. And a few more poems as we come to the close of tonight. I know it sort of whooshes by rather quickly sometimes. There are many other things I'd love to share, but we will in other weeks. And there are other things you can listen back to as well. So this is a poem for every single being alive, every single one of us alive. And I had heard about how many cells we actually had inside of us, and I couldn't believe how many there were. And that led to this poem called A 35 Trillion Cell Wonder. That's you, all those cells, orchestrating with vast intelligence a galaxy of processes, complexities inside your body, without you thinking, from your breathing to your blood flow, enabling you to laugh, make love, give birth, swim, dream, live every moment. Talk about wonder. And then there's the aliveness of life's mysteries. And I have some dear friends, many dear friends, but dear friends up in Maine, more now actually, that I was visiting on East Pond Road in Nobleboro, and I'm sure they're listening tonight. I hope they are. And I had this profound experience one night, and I knew that it was both mysterious and sacred and significant. And I woke very early afterward and needed to write this down, as most poems come to me in the moment, and I write them in my head if I can't write them on a piece of paper or anywhere else. And this poem, written in October of 2018, is called What Is This Presence? Close around me, in the night darkness, in the deep stillness, enfolding me like a lover with such tenderness, like a mother with such benevolence. Is it the presence of the land and water I lie above? Is it a soft, silent angel revealing its protecting wings? Or my own spirit, my anima, holding me so transcendently and showing me I'm really a body inside a breathing soul? I thought we'd end, since we're pointing ourselves towards summer. I often write poems for each equinox, each solstice, and on that very day, and the energy of that day. I do a composition if the muse is with me, and this was solstice of 2018, summer solstice, and it's called Bring Yourself to This Day. I think every day for us is a day of potential greater aliveness. Bring yourself to this day, this solstice day, regenerous day of new summering, good naturing, the sun so greatly lengthening, the trees so freely dancing in ever deeper, ever greener ecstasies, the clouds caressing the open skies and dotting the eyes of sailors and of mountaineers, painters and sonneteers, the waters of lakes and rivers, firths and fjords, bays and sounds clear and mirroring. Bring yourself, your whole nature, bodyfully, spiritly, as bountifully, to this day of balance and beauty, dalliance and euphony between the boundless heavens and the returning earth, with a lightening heart and long, lengthening breath. Thank you for listening and for the welcome donations by PayPal and Venmo that help support these programs in poetic arts, but especially for your enthusiasms for this and me and the poetic arts. And a special thanks to my technical angel, Grant Peterson, who has earned his wings many times over helping me. There are replays of each broadcast on YouTube to share or hear again. I hope you'll lean in next time. Until then, good days ahead and good spirits.